your experience. Let us know. As usual, on the Twitter, hashtag TT Radio. Download the Podbean app or the website, ttradio.org.
Live from London, this is The Drive Home with Seb Ventura on Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live on the Podbean app or desktop player. Just head over to www.podbean.com/LSW/TT Radio or search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a wonderful day and I hope you're relaxing now or preparing for your lessons tomorrow. It's been a great week, hasn't it? Especially if you're an England fan. Which I'm sure a lot of the listeners are, unless you are listening from somewhere else in the world, of course. You may or may not have noticed England sneaking into a quarter-final. It was pretty low-key. There wasn't much media coverage, and no one's really talking about it. So I'll just leave that there. But hopefully this time next week when I'm speaking to you, we'll be even further on. But who knows? We might get our bubble burst. Yes, today's show, we're going to be talking about two things. The first topic is being a middle leader. This is a role that I have done myself for a number of years, first as a head of drama, then as a head of faculty of a performing arts department. So I have been there and got the T-shirt. I know some of the parts of this role which are very rewarding and also parts of the role which are really difficult. But I've got a guest who will be on quite shortly. And Emily is coming to speak to us. She is a head of an expressive arts faculty, a music teacher. And she's going to be talking a little bit about her experiences. So I really would like to know, people that are out there listening on the show today, if you are a middle leader, give us a call, give us a message. Tell us what it's like for you. What are the challenges of the job? Some people call it the impossible job in schools. Some people say it's easier than leadership. I'm not sure I totally agree, but I can see where they're coming from. And obviously a lot harder than being a main scale teacher, really, because you've got so many other things to juggle. So I'll be interested in people's experiences. Maybe obviously all schools are different. Also primary middle leaders, let us know, get in touch, give me a little message, tell me you're there, or give us a call. So we're going to be looking at middle leadership, and also on the show later, just after 5, we will be talking to Greg, who is a trainee science teacher, who is no longer a trainee as he is now qualified, and now becomes a ECT. We don't call them NQTs anymore, and that'll be outlawed, that phrase. So he's going to be an ECT for the next 2 years, I think. And Greg's going to give us a call later on. And really what I'm going to try and talk to Greg about today is, what has it been like? We all know what it's been like as a teacher or a leader this year with online learning, etc. But imagine doing that as a trainee. That is a tough gig to actually have to learn how to teach when half of your practice has been at home. Wow, I don't envy those people. So there is an argument that perhaps some people may start their training, their ECT year or their next year in September, feeling a little bit maybe not ready. Some people may feel like they're a bit behind. Certainly some people I've been coaching this year, trainees, feeling like they just need that little bit of extra time in the classroom. And obviously, luckily, we've had a period of time now, haven't we, where we've been back in schools, which is great news. And so maybe those people are kind of feeling like they're getting in the gist of it. But I'm going to speak to Greg a bit later about that experience. If you are a trainee, or should I say a qualified teacher now, give me a call, give me a message. What has your experience been like? Has it been really, really horrific, or has it actually been okay? You've had lots of support, and maybe online learning was easier in some ways, or you haven't got 30 kids running right in front of you, I suppose. So behaviour management may be not as much of an issue. So we're going to be talking about that. But first, we are going to concentrate on being a middle leader. Now, a little bit of research for the show today, even though obviously I have been a middle leader, I do know what it's like. And I'm sure some of the people listening, just say some of the people coming to the studio, hello to Gail, hello to Fiona, hello to Mal, Sven Rex, hello to those people. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, some of you may have been middle leaders, or maybe you're thinking of being a middle leader and you're ambitious and you think, well, I might try that. Oh, it's really hard though, isn't it? So what I did a little bit of research for the show today was I tried to look up some blogs or some articles about it, and I found a really good one actually, which was on the TES by our old friend Mark Enser, and he actually summarises it brilliantly with some sort of things to look out for and some tips. So he talks about, you know, the fact of managing your time and the operational kind of day-to-day stuff, as well as balancing that with your teaching. You know, some people feel like, and I certainly do empathize with this, that at times my teaching maybe suffered because I was trying to do a million other things, keep on top of the team, make sure, you know, my team was supported, whilst also making sure that the directives that were coming from SLT were being followed. And, you know, I'll be honest, you know, we'll have an honest dialogue on this show. I know there were lessons that could have been a bit better during that period of my career. So it is really, really tough to produce excellent lessons consistently, you know, give that brilliant service, which is what we all want to do. But there are obviously barriers to that. And I think middle leadership in schools is a really tough one because you don't really generally got a lot of time. That is a common experience. I looked this online. I saw a lot of people saying the same thing, that you may get a few less hours teaching time, but really is that enough for you to actually do all the things you need to do and have a life as well, not be there until 7 every night. So there is that balance. One of the tips that Mark's put on his TES article is about making sure you talk to other heads of department. I think that is great advice, because sometimes you feel like it's just your department, something you're doing wrong, something significantly specific just to your department, and then you go and talk to head of maths, head of English. Hi there to RJ. You might talk to an English or a maths head of faculty and suddenly realise, wow, do you know what? This is really difficult. You know, I'm struggling to get, I don't know, the homework policy embedded, or I'm really struggling with marking, or, you know, you're trying to follow something that's been a new directive from the school, or maybe it's just, you know, individual kids or classes. So I think talking to people in the same boat is always really, really good for your mental health. Often, sometimes at my old school, we used to have a breakfast every sort of 2 weeks. Yeah, hi, RJ. I did say hi, hello there. You know, we'd have a breakfast meeting, a little chat, social kind of thing in the staff room. And often now I talk to other heads of faculty and it would make me feel better. Other tips are to be open and honest with your line manager. I know that is difficult when I have been a line manager of a head of faculty and they come to you and they're upset or they're frustrated, that actually sometimes you don't want to open up. You don't want to moan. You don't want to seem like you're being a problem. But I think talking to your line manager about workload or about things that are worrying you is always better, because it doesn't necessarily mean that person is usually going to be either a senior leader in the school. It doesn't mean they're going to magic all away, but at least if they know and they're aware and they can cut you slack in other areas. That's what I always tried to do as you know, an assistant head when I was in charge of people. I always tried to do my best to help them. Yeah, so today, RJ, just a message from RJ there. The topic is being a middle leader. Are you in a school? And RJ's calling in. Let's see what RJ's got to say. This is very exciting. Haven't had a live caller like this for a while.
Hey.
Hi there. How you doing?
I am very happy to join your live because the topic is very nice. Middle leadership and being trained during pandemic. This is very nice topic. I tell 5 points for middle leaderships.
Yeah. Okay, go tell us about middle leadership.
Yes, this pandemic, they are very low budget of monies. They are very sacrifice. We did not sacrifice too, because they do not go to work. They have not facilities to eat clean food, and they are not facilities of home to money, having to manage the home. This is correct only.
Yeah, who are you talking about there? The schools not having the money, or the parents?
Yes, that is the meaning. So next we have 1 point. That means the children are not studying by this pandemic because they are hearing us playing the games only. They are not reading. They having the middle leadership means they are not paid to the school fees also. They have not money to pay the school fees, and the children are very, very all time they are playing games. This is the 1 point.
This is the
situation it's go to wrong situation for the middle leadership families.
Right. Okay. And whereabouts are you calling from, RJ?
I am calling from India.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Thank you for calling in. That's great to get a call from the other side of the world. And are you a teacher yourself? What do you teach?
I have personal mobile only.
Okay. Yeah. Are you a teacher, RJ? Do you teach lessons in a school?
Okay.
Yeah, this is Teachers Talk Radio. So we're talking to teachers about being a middle leader in a school. So when you're teaching and you have another responsibility. Are you a teacher, RJ?
I am a OJ only. I experienced 2 years. So I work in Voxit OJ. I am become a big OJ of the world and India. That is my ambition.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, that's superb. Well, thanks for calling in. Make sure you go onto the website and you put your details and you can win yourself you can have a nice mug. I'm not sure whether we post out to India, but you can give it a try.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks for joining us. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
I did not know that on all because I have to study. I studying 10th standard in India. I studying high class, so I did not time to participate any live too. Today is the Thursday because it's leave for me holiday for my tuition, because that's why I join your show. This middle leadership, very 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 super topic.
Okay,
all the
thank
best.
you.
Keep rocking.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you, RJ, and we'll speak to you again. Yes. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
see you later.
Golden opportunity. Thank you
no
very
problem.
much.
You are welcome. Have a lovely day. Lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was my first caller from India there. So that was superb, super duper. Yeah, great. So so talking about the middle leadership, we just got on to talking about tips. So we talked about being honest and open with your line manager. We talked about talking to other heads of department. The other thing is about delegation. That it is obviously difficult, especially when you're a new middle leader, you feel awful, especially imagine a lot of the time it's people you work with in the same department or team, and then suddenly you're the boss. That can be really, really tough to then start delegating jobs. That happened to me once in one school, and I was very, very close with the person that I was working with, and suddenly I was not her line manager, but I was head of department, and it can be very awkward. So talk to your team, delegate where necessary. Don't apologize for delegation, but obviously don't give people things. I would always advise you not to give things to people, just, jobs that you wouldn't do yourself. But yeah, taking some time and prioritizing your time is massive as well. Making sure that you look at what is the most important thing for your department, but also for yourself. If you've got a free period, one of the things you have to learn to do is maximize that free. You can't spend 25 minutes making a cup of tea and read a few emails, and then the next thing you know, half an hour's gone. I would always advise you have a nice strict to-do list that you can bang out as soon as you finish your lesson, bang bang bang, and then maybe give yourself 10 minutes to walk around the school or walk around your department or check on lessons. But that's my advice. I am not the guru of this whatsoever. I would never profess to be the guru. I just know that I know quite a bit about it. But please get in touch. Let me know. Give us a call. Message me. Tell me what your opinion is. Okay, challenge my opinions, or just let me know what you think. It'd be lovely to hear what you've got to say. So very shortly, Emily will be calling in, and when we speak to Emily, she will give us her outlook on this topic. But while we're waiting, obviously, you can ring in and talk to us about being a middle leader. Also, when I was doing the prep for today, I noticed that I was having a look at what books were out there, because certainly there's lots of education books doing the rounds. But at the moment, there's a couple of really good ones that I've seen out there about middle leadership. One is called How to Be an Amazing Middle Leader by C.B. Davis. And another one is Mastery of Middle Leadership, or Middle Leadership Mastery by Adam Robbins. And both of those authors, actually, I did contact for today, trying to get them on the show, because obviously they are more expert than me in this field. And, you know, I tried to get them on, but unfortunately, one of them was busy driving to do some inset somewhere, or CPD, and the other one was got a parents' evening. So it's one of those things, you know, drive home show is a bit of a tricky one between 4 and 5:30, because obviously it does clash with sometimes with parents' evenings or after school meetings. But hey, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Got plenty of people listening to the show today. So well done for you joining us. Hello to Graham. Thank you to RJ for calling in. You can see the times of all the shows, RJ, on the website, www.ttradio.org. And if you go on there, it's got the full schedule. There are shows most of the day, most days of the week. So, yeah, we're going to talk to Emily in a moment about being a middle leader. But whilst I'm just waiting for her to call in, we will have a quick ad break.
Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. At Creative Resources, we've been rethinking what a classroom can be. We've created a huge range of more than 2,500 original and exciting resources that span across more than 15 different subject areas. Whether you're looking for primary or secondary level resources, careers options, PSHE, arts, or humanities, Creative Resources have the resources for you. We offer full curriculum packages and unique, challenging escape rooms themed on topics such as Shakespeare, Tudors, and fractions. We have quizzes, task cards, Tarsia puzzles, and lots more. Better still, more than 100 resources can be accessed for free. Just visit our website, www.CRE8TIVEresources.com. You can get 10% off any order you make on our website by using the discount code TT Radio. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful, and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TT Radio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club. Introducing the Leadership Masterclass series by Diana Osagi. Learn how to ditch your fears and develop your leadership confidence. How to deal with difficult colleagues. How to thrive when you lead in a challenging environment. And how to get colleagues to buy into your vision. Join Diana for her online leadership masterclasses starting on the 10th of July and running all the way through the summer. These sessions are the perfect way to prepare and refresh for the next academic year and beyond. Book your place at courageousleadership.co.uk/events now. The first 50 leaders to sign up get an additional free mini coaching session with Diana herself. Don't miss this. Courageous Leadership Masterclasses at courageousleadership.co.uk/events.
Yeah, there we go. So that's some good adverts there, I must admit. I love stationery. I've had a little sample of that, and it is wonderful stuff. Definitely great. So Emily's going to be calling in a sec. I think she's just having a few tech issues. Emily, if you are listening, I think you're looking at the podcast page there, which is for the shows after. You need to just go onto the live streaming of the show, and then on there you should see a call-in icon, a little headset icon that you can just click and call in. It's like a green icon with a phone and some headphones. But I think looking at the picture you just sent me, you're on the podcast rather than the live stream. So search up my show. I think you can do it through the website as well. and click and call in. But anyway, whilst we're just waiting for Emily, she's just sorting all that out. We will continue. So thanks to RJ for calling in there. That was lovely. We are talking about middle leadership today. How you can be a good, well, what makes middle leadership hard is the first question out that I'm going to chuck out there. What is it about the role, balancing your teaching, balancing your time, how you manage to do all of these things at the same time. And we're also talking about middle leadership in terms of the rewards of it, because it is a great role to do. There's a lot of good things about being able to have a vision, be able to have a strategic idea and an action and plan and deliver that plan, and also working with a team of people is great. Having having a team of people, whether it's small or large, that work with you together, and the buzz you get from that is really, really good. So yeah, that is what we're talking about. Later on, we will also be talking about being a trainee. So my next guest will be Greg, who is a trainee who has just qualified, and we'll be talking about some of the issues to do with training in a pandemic. Yes, so welcome to a couple more people who've joined us during that little ad break. So welcome to Cynthia. Emily, if you are listening in, you are I can see that you are listening, so you are halfway there, but obviously you just need to click on. Not sure about Chromebooks. If anyone wants to message Tom, if you're listening, whether you can do it on a Chromebook or not, maybe there's a reason why you can't. I think you probably can, but sometimes Chromebooks like to do their own little thing, don't they? Yeah, so middle leadership, as I said, this is something I've got lots of experience of myself. It is a difficult role. Making sure that your teaching doesn't suffer, I think, is the trick. Right, okay, so if Emily's listening, or anybody else, and for that matter, Chromebooks don't work, you need to call in from a mobile phone, using headphones, or probably a static computer, or an iPad or something like that. So Chromebook is an issue. If you haven't got headphones, don't worry, you can try, but headphones without, we do sometimes get bad echoes, don't we, for that? So anyway, I'll just leave that there. I'm sure Emily will get through to us at some stage. Yeah, so what's talking about? Yeah, middle leadership. I think delivering excellent lessons whilst balancing everything else is tricky. Sorry, Tom's just saying no computers work. Only at mobile phones with Podbean app and headphones. Okay, good. Bit of insight for me. Of course, I've not phoned into my own show. I only I'll speak on other people's shows, or I call in some of my colleagues' shows, but I tend to do that on my phone because that's the easiest way of doing it. Right. So middle leadership, get in touch. Why is it the hardest job in the school? That would be my first question. Is it the hardest job that you can do? Is it tougher than leadership? And Emily has finally joined us. Emily, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
So just a little bit quieter and we're sorted.
Oh, I'm a bit loud, did you say?
Oh, yeah, that's better. That's better. You were just a bit...
I'll hold it away from my face. Sorry, I couldn't get headphones, so if this sounds a bit...
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know we've had calls before where we have really bad echo where you can hear me coming back. If you do it in a car, for example, it comes back through the speakers, but I can't hear an echo, so that's good for me. How are you doing today? All right?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm glad that you've managed to connect with the show, because obviously we've talked a little bit about middle leadership and my experience of it, but obviously we want to get other people's opinions. So you are a head of an expressive arts faculty. That's right, isn't it?
It is correct.
And how long have you been doing that for now, Emily?
So I'm coming up to the end of my third year, I believe. So I was just a subject leader of music for 3 years before that. And then I became a team leader of expressive arts, 3 years ago.
So actually the head of music is also a middle leadership role, isn't it? Effectively.
Yeah. And that's still within my role. I'm still head of music. But also, have got dance and drama under my wing now as well.
And how many people in your team?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Come on.
We've got, so it's 2 drama, so there's 6 of us all together.
Right.
But we're quite lucky. We do get a lot of trainee teachers. So if you can as well, we often have, we've got 2 drama next year. We had 1 music this year and a dance. So there's an extra, 4 members of staff with the trainees. So
That's great. That is brilliant. So do you find then, as a middle leader, like you said, you're fortunate to have those trainees? Do you think that really helps you, or does it become more difficult to have more people that aren't experienced? What do you think? Is it worth more?
Yeah, it can be difficult because it's obviously teacher training, as you probably all remember when we did our teacher training. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of mentor meetings, but actually when you've been teaching a long time, having those new members of staff, they often come in with these fresh ideas. We all get stuck in our ways to go about things, ways to tackle lessons, ways to tackle specs, but actually having that fresh outlook on it is sometimes really, really helpful. That's what I've found over the past few years. I've still got things within my curriculum now and just in routines that have been brought in by trainee teachers, which has been brilliant. So it is 9 times out of 10, it's a good thing, I'd say.
Definitely. So yeah, you get that kind of inspiration and youth and ideas, don't you, coming in? But what about the actual like the sort of day-to-day management of having an extra pair of hands? Is that helpful? Do you find it easy to delegate, or do you find that difficult?
That is one thing I've learned, I'd say, in the last year or so, is how to delegate. I'm still not the best at it because I'm a bit of a control freak, and that's what I found, I think, was the biggest challenge for me stepping up into a team leader position, especially being a music subject lead, because it's quite a small department. So you sort of manage yourself and maybe one other person if you're lucky. But having that ability to delegate, I think, is a massive part of being a middle leader. And yeah, I think using those trainees a little bit more, and I think with everyone, I think that's one of the things to create, I think, a successful team, is giving people opportunities, not just trainees, but NQTs, even other subject leaders that are ready to make that next step, is just giving them the opportunity. And as well, relieving you can't do everything, so it's giving them part of the job as well.
And they need those opportunities to make cups of tea, don't they, after all?
I do the photocopying. It's a big skill. It is.
Yeah, no, obviously I'm joking, but there is a temptation when people, you've suddenly got loads of people, and it is hard, like you say, things just need to get done. But obviously at the same time, I like what you're saying there about giving people those opportunities, and they're going to make mistakes, but otherwise they're never going to develop, are they? If you control it all too much and you don't let go. And sometimes these mistakes, they're not the end of the world, are they? They might cause inconvenience, But great. Okay. So another thing I wanted to ask was, first of all, why did you get into it? So that obviously some of our listeners may be just maybe teachers at the moment thinking about stepping up. What was it that attracted you to about wanting to be a head of faculty or head of department?
Well, the step from music teacher to head of department was quite an easy one for me. I found that a lot easier than stepping up to head of faculty, because the person I was working with at the time, it was kind of, they were sort of on the, it was, I was quite lucky in that they were ready to retire. So they were almost handing the job over to me. So I felt fully prepared for that role.
Yeah.
It was like I was sort of half doing it anyway. It was almost baptism of fire with the first few years of teaching. I found I was almost like head of department straight away. But stepping up to team leader, I don't think I think it's with any role, you're not ever 100% ready. But I think I got to a point where I had achieved quite a lot as a head of music. I'd built the department into something that I wanted it to look like. It's still obviously a continuing, I'm still doing that now, but it got to the point where I was happy. I looked at my role and I felt happy with what I'd done. And I didn't want to just potter along for a little while. I wanted a new challenge. And for me, the reason I'm a teacher is because I'm so passionate about music and the arts. So it was just a logical step for me. I never wanted to really go into head of year or anything like that. I wanted to stay as close to my subject as humanly possible. And so it just felt like the natural progression.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we've covered before on some of my other shows about this thing that most people, and it's a generalization, but most teachers either go down that pastoral route or they stay on the academic side and they stay in their subject, don't they? And I think pretty soon as a teacher which route you're going to go down. And I was like you, the pastoral thing, it didn't necessarily float my boat as much as the leading the team. But it's interesting you say about the challenger, because again, you know, there's this whole thing about teachers, you know, quitting earlier, etc. I think the fact that you kept yourself interested in the job, as it were, you know, that you put on a personal level.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's that constant never settling for what, you know, if I look at my role as a head of music, just it's never sitting still, because you just can't. And I think otherwise you would just, like you say, you would lose the passion as a teacher. And you are constantly, and I'm quite lucky with the fact that I teach music, in that it is naturally, even in the industry, it's evolving all the time. So to keep in touch with the kids, you have to evolve with it. It's the same with most subjects, I suppose. So it has, luckily I've kept my passion for it, and I think that's driven me to like I said, become a team leader as well.
Yeah, no, of course, that's brilliant. I mean, obviously there are some people who have that passion and love their subject, but don't have any interest in taking on more responsibility and having all that admin and there is pressure, isn't there? There is a lot of pressure on that middle leadership role in terms of accountability, isn't there?
100%. You're almost like what I've realised this year, or this last couple of years, is you're almost like that middleman in between leadership and the rest of the school. So they're almost counting on you. You know, leadership have this vision and they implement certain strategies or something that they want all staff to do. And it's our job as middle leaders to feed that into the school. And sometimes, you know, it might not be an idea that has come from you, it's come from someone else. And sometimes that can be quite tricky, but it is a lot of pressure, and it is, there is you know, it's a big role being a middle leader in that respect. You're almost like that middle ground.
Yeah, I think that's the toughest part, isn't it? That you've got to motivate your team and sell ideas to them, whilst also not being part of perhaps the discussions at leadership and where that's come from. And obviously we work in a highly pressurized environment where time is short. And so you maybe don't have time to sit and go through it all, and you have to just deliver those messages. And you want to keep your team happy, but at the same time, you've got to, you know, make sure that you're doing as you're told, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, well, we've kind of covered this, but what is the single hardest thing of the role, do you think? If you had to boil it down to one thing, what is the toughest part?
It's probably getting people on board, selling something that you are so passionate about. Like, say you come up with this new idea, this new teaching idea, or this new idea for the curriculum, or this new idea for an extracurricular thing that you want to put on, and you've spent hours prepping it, and you think, right, this is going to change everyone's lives, and then you kind of sell it, and they're like, yeah, it's all right. And it's that kind of taking your ego, or taking your personal kind of opinions out of it, and actually, you know, if they're not sold on it, it's probably not a great idea. It's kind of, you know, trying to push those ideas and knowing when, and listening to your team and knowing when to not push things too far.
I think that's what I was going to say. I think the listening part is key. It's something that I found really difficult at first. I'm realizing, you know, the error of my ways, that, you know, you have to find time to listen to people. You can't just pay lip service, because it will bite you on the back, sort of thing, and come back and hurt you if you're not actually, you know, listening to people's gripes or whatever. So we talked a bit about challenges. If we flip it out in case people are listening thinking, God, I never want to do that. What and bear in mind, me, yourself, Emily and myself have both been middle leaders for a long time, so it can't be that bad, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. What is the thing that you enjoy the most? And second part to that question is, has that changed over time?
Yeah, I would say I love working as a team. Like when I first went for this team leader role, it was purely based on the team that I would be working with. So I looked at the members of staff, I looked at what I'd done for music, and I looked at the drama teachers and the dance teacher, and I thought, this is the sort of team I want to be part of for a long time. And it was those actual individual members of staff that kind of drove me to want to lead that team further. And so working with experienced members of staff and building a vision together and then leading that vision, I think it's almost like the flip side of what I've just said is the worst thing. The best, it's also the best thing when you come up with these ideas, or you create an idea together, and then you see it in place. You walk into lessons and you see it happening, or you speak to students and you hear that they've had an amazing lesson in one of your within your team area. It's those, you know, because of something that you as a team have put in place. I think
that's great.
That is one of the best things,
and
just having that.
Sorry, that impact. And I think also, surely, you know, if you then get good results as well, that's got to be quite satisfying, hasn't it? Getting a great set of you know, students progressing, and from you, you know, from your line management or from your team's delivery of what you've been trying to do.
Because I think that was what another thing that I struggled with, but now love, is the taking my, I know team leaders, I know it's quite specific to expressive arts, this comment about taking my sort of music hat off and being an expressive arts leader rather than a music leader, because I'm still head of music. It must be the same for humanities teachers that have to, geography teachers that lead, you know, RE and history. It is a difficult, it's a difficult thing to do. But like you say, you know, when you build up results in your subject and then having to sort of spread that time and spread that energy across 2 other subjects is tricky, but also makes it 3 times as rewarding.
Yeah, of course. And that is the trick, isn't it? It's like, there's no good. I know I would definitely say that when I did the similar role, took my eye off the ball with my own subject, and you just can't do that. But it is difficult because you're trying to spread, you know, and I think there's a lot of humanities teachers actually on Teacher Talk Radio, or some of our guests or hosts quite a lot of history, geography, so I'm sure they empathise with that. And what was there one thing, I think I know what you're going to say, but what would you say would make your job easier? If you could have one wish tomorrow, what would make your job that a little bit easier? Just in case your boss is listening.
I don't know what I'm going to say. Wow, COVID to not be a thing, that would obviously make...
forget COVID. Something that isn't COVID related. Like, what could I do tomorrow, and then you'd be like, oh yeah, my job is 10% easier now.
Take away all the admin and paperwork.
Oh, no, that's interesting.
I don't know. I really don't know, Seb. I don't know what. I'm trying to think of what I find the hardest. No, I don't think there's anything that would make it easier. I don't think it's like I said, the only thing that I would ever find most difficult is getting everyone on board. So it's kind of, you know, and you can't, and
you can't say I want everyone to always agree with me, because that's not gonna.
I wouldn't wish that, because then it's like, well, that's just, you know, everyone's just going to be pottering along and you won't ever learn anything. So that's a hard question.
Ask Boris Johnson, he seems to do all right. What I was going to say, I thought your answer was going to be time, because that would be
yes,
that would be my answer. Like, if you give me a bit more time, I could do my job better. That's what, but that is always difficult.
You've probably asked me that the reason why that didn't spring to mind is obviously we're at a stage where the year 11s have left.
Yes, of course, yeah.
So we are lucky to have this gain time, but ask me that question in September and I'll be like, Michael, give me more time.
Time, so, of course, yeah, and it's also, you've got to give yourself time to, I went on a course once about middle leadership, and it's that thing of giving yourself time to be strategic and not using every free period to deal with the day-to-day operational stuff, you know, like cover or, you know, lists, or put, you know, there are those things that you need to give yourself half an hour to just almost, it sounds really pretentious, but, you know, just to sit back and kind of look at your domain, as it were, and just think, right, what can I do, you know, moving forward? What do we need to do? And giving yourself that time to reflect, I think, is hard.
Oh, definitely. And also, like what you just said about not, I've learned, especially the last couple of years, to not rely on that free time to like you said, to do the day-to-day stuff, because 9 times out of 10 doesn't work that way. You'll plan to do something in an hour and it just doesn't happen. But it's also another tricky thing is, you know, you've got to have, like you say, totally agree, you've got to have that time to sit back and reflect and look at the team and think strategically what is the next step. But sometimes that moment will happen for me at 10 o'clock at night, and then I want to do it the next day, and it's tricky. So it's just
you've got to take it time, bit at a time, haven't you? Yeah,
definitely.
So we're going to just do a couple more questions and I will let you go. But we just wanted to know, because again, we want people listening to, you know, it's great to have this conversation, but also people to learn from it. What would you, obviously well-being is a massive issue at the moment in teaching. And obviously, even without COVID, it was still an issue. So what's your top thing, what you do to kind of de-stress and look after yourself? How do you find the way to switch off and de-stress?
Well, some people say I'm unlucky, but I think I'm lucky to live very far away from where I work. So it's a good 45 minutes, sometimes an hour journey into school. So that is one of the things that I would say is where I unwind. So when I get home, that's it. I'm at home. I'm ready to just be me and not be, Miss Russell. So I think definitely. So even if you don't live far away, I would just have that time where you, between school and home, where you just allow yourself to kind of almost switch off, listen to a podcast, do whatever. I've got better at not taking, I tend to like working at school. So anything, and I've always been like this, even as a trainee teacher, even if it means working longer hours, it's doing it at school and not taking work home if you can help it. Obviously there are certain points in the year where we don't have a choice, but I think where you can, that is one thing that's helped me. And as I know you'll hate me for saying this, although you do like cycling, don't you? I do find that if I gym in the morning, my whole outlook on the day is completely different. It's almost like I've done my bit of me, I've woken up, I've had my me time if I've gone to the gym or gone for a run or something, because I think if I get it, I think that mentality of getting out of bed and running straight into school, and as we all know, it's 100 miles an hour as soon as you get there. I feel like that can be quite overwhelming sometimes. I think
that's true. I think exercise is definitely one that, it's well documented, isn't it? But I think it's a definite one, even if you don't want to do it, going for a walk or a run or whatever you want to do, I think it's a really good one just to reset yourself. And I think that it's interesting. I'd love to hear what other listeners think. Do people tend to, do people go home straight away and have that as they're relaxing, and then do you work all night, or do people do what you do and stay till 6:30, or however late they stay, and then that is it, no more, not looking at emails, not doing? I think that's a healthy way of doing it, until you have kids, and then it becomes a nightmare because you have to then do that till 9 o'clock, and then you literally crash and burn. Okay, so that's kind of it. I was going to ask you about your top tips for survival. Like, what would be your top? I read out some of Mark Enser's tips earlier. What would be a top tip for you to say to a middle leader starting in September? What would be your top tip?
Give your team opportunities. So don't see it. I think when you see it as delegation, it's sometimes a little bit hard to give things up. If you see it as opportunities, you're building a team as well as easing your own workload. I think that is something, have faith in your team, basically. Give them the to, like you say, get things wrong, and if they get things wrong, they're learning. It doesn't matter.
And letting go, isn't it? Letting go a bit.
Prioritize. Sorry, I cut off you there.
No.
Prioritize. So often, just planning out those things that I'm quite good at doing, the small tasks first, even if they're not, the most important. And I've stopped doing that now. So, you just want to get things off your to-do list, but just prioritize things that need to be done now. Not everything needs to be done straight away. And I think learning that is quite important.
No, totally agree. You've got to do those things, those quick
and go
things.
to the gym in the morning.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, some people might. So, right, you're a little bit sketchy, your signal. So try and stay wherever you were, because you're sort of coming in and out. But that's fine. We're going to play the game now before you go. So this is part of being on my show, I'm afraid. If you call in, you do have to take part. So you're happy to take part in the game?
100%. Love a game.
Right. Okay, I'm just going to do the jingle for those people who don't know. The rules of the game are quite simple. You have two choices, A or B. You have to decide which of those options you prefer, with no explanation, no justification, and no judgment of your choice. It's just a choice, a simple choice. Listeners of the show can also take part, but we'll never know their answer. So the time is now, the pressure is on for you to
take your pick.
Okay.
That is amazing.
Of course, right. Too much time on my hands. Right. Okay. So obviously there's 10 of them. The first 9 are silly. The last one is education based. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Espresso or latte?
Espresso.
Snickers or double decker?
Double decker.
Paper clips or staples?
Paper clips.
Glamping or hotel?
Hotel.
Ariana Grande or Miley Cyrus?
Ariana Grande.
Obviously, there's no context to it. It's just, brass or percussion?
Percussion.
Spring or autumn?
Spring.
Paris or Rome?
Rome.
Custard creams or hobnobs?
Hobnobs.
And then the final one is if you had to a choice, whether you had to do a cover lesson or deal with students being kicked out of a lesson for an hour.
Cover lesson.
Okay, all right, then good. You don't have to justify that. That's just a controversial one. Right, thanks, Emily. I'm going to let you go because you've been on for a while, and I know you're a really busy lady. Really, thanks for coming in and being so honest and helping everyone on the show to hear what it's like to be a middle leader, and hopefully we haven't put them off too much.
No, not at all. It's great.
Excellent. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Have a lovely night. Take care. See you soon. Cheers. Bye. Okay, so that was Emily there, head of Expressive Arts in Essex, and she's given some great insight there into what it's like to be a middle leader. So yes, thank you, Tom, just saying he loves the jingle. Thank you very much, Tom. I will keep playing it till people get sick of it. And what we're now going to do is I'm just checking the time. It's coming up to, well, it's 10 to 5 nearly. So we're just going to have a quick ad break. And then we'll start talking about our next topic. Okay, so I'll speak to you in a moment.
Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful, and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TTRadio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club.
Okay, so that was our second ad of the day. I hope you're all well. I hope you enjoyed the football this week. And if you're an England fan, maybe not if you're a Welsh or a Scottish fan, but I'm sorry about that. But hopefully the whole country's going to get behind what will probably be Sir Gareth soon. I certainly think Southgate is doing a good job so far. I prefer the team to be a bit more expressive, but he's getting results. Can't really complain. And he's such a lovely man, such a really nice bloke, I think. Of all the recent coaches we've had, I think he's definitely up there as a human being. Okay, so I digress. So the next section of the show, we're going to now shift our focus from middle leadership, and we're going to talk a bit more about the trainee experience. So either if you've been a trainee, give us a call or give us a message. If you have been a mentor perhaps for a trainee, how has that gone for you this year? And how much do we feel generally that these ECTs in September are going to be disadvantaged from having that gap in their training? The same way we talk about the students being disadvantaged from all that time out, there is obviously a concern that classroom practice, we all know that's where you earn your corn, that's how you get good at what you do, and you get mastery of your teaching ability through time in the classroom. There's no way around that, I think. So if somebody is a trainee and they're getting their own classes from September, will there be a little bit of time needed because they've missed a few months? Or do trainees feel like they've just taken all that in their stride and they're just gonna carry on? The shift to ECT is also interesting, isn't it? Because now it's a 2-year framework rather than 1. And I know the government's put a lot of work into supporting those teachers, probably because of the retention crisis. So I think there's been steps made to put more mentoring in, more regular meetings, more support. That will mean probably some more paperwork and effort for someone who is mentoring them. But I think in the end, it's probably a good idea that we don't just have the NQT year and then we leave people alone. And I actually think you should continue supporting and coaching people right through their career. I don't think anybody should just be just left to their own devices. So yeah, so that's interesting. So if you're a trainee or you have been a trainee recently or about to qualify, or if you've been a mentor, give us a call or a message. Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. What's it been like with COVID this year? How much has it impacted on you becoming, getting through the hoops that you need to get through, the standards, the teaching standards, and actually your ability to teach? We will be speaking to Greg just around 5 o'clock. Greg is a science teacher who's just qualified from a school in Kent, but I won't be speaking to him just yet because Greg is actually giving us 15 minutes of his time on an evening when he's got 2 hours of parents' evening. So he's actually found a slot within his parents' evening appointments to speak to Teachers Talk Radio, which is an absolute heroic thing to do, but I must keep to the times that he's given me because obviously he's not going to be there when he's talking to parents, and obviously I've got to let him go. I don't want him to be late for his parents' evening. So whilst we're waiting for Greg, have a little think about the trainee thing. What's your feelings on it? What do you think? Get in touch. We are going to have a quick news break, which should take us up to nearly 5 o'clock because we've got a lot of news this week. So we're going to have a listen to the news and then we'll speak to Greg or anyone else that wants to call in.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
This is your latest Teacher Talk Radio News with Gail Glenn. Some councils in England are awarding grants of up to £150 to put towards the cost of a school uniform to parents and guardians who are struggling financially. The amount awarded does vary between local authorities, meaning that people in different parts of the country may receive varying amounts. Children who live in North Lincolnshire are eligible for the grants if they meet the free school meals eligibility criteria. A statement on northlinks.gov.uk reads, "Only one grant, currently £20, is paid when the child is at primary school, and one grant, currently £30, when they are at secondary school. The grant is not available everywhere, as even though the help falls under the Education Act 1990, it isn't a statutory right in England, and there are separate systems in place for Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales." The English Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson, has announced that mobile phones could be banned from classrooms in England. Mr. Williamson has stated that mobile phones are not just distracting, but when misused or overused, they can have a damaging effect on pupils' mental health and well-being. He said, "I want to put an end to this, making the school day mobile free." Some school leaders believe that there is a role for mobile phones to be used in the classroom as a learning tool, but ministers disagree, believing that removing phones from schools would increase pupil attainment and help address issues such as pupils engaging in sexting. Dr. Amanda Gummer, child development expert and founder of the Good Play Guide, said most schools I know have very strict controls over when mobile phones can and can't be used. And I think schools should be empowered to manage that according to their ethos and community. I think there should be a difference between ages. I have no problem with banning phones in primary schools, but my general philosophy is that you should only ban the things you absolutely have to, because it just sends them underground and it becomes a taboo thing. You end up missing opportunities to promote learning and development. Children need to learn how to use mobile phones responsibly, and schools have a role to play in teaching them how to do this, she said, adding that most schools are adept at managing child behaviour around phones. According to Mind, too many young people in secondary schools across England are being denied vital mental health support at school and by mental health services, affecting their ability to participate in education. Mind's inquiry into secondary education and mental health, not making the grade, why our approach to mental health at secondary school is failing young people, which was released on the 30th of June, stated that 96% of young people surveyed across England reported that their mental health had affected their schoolwork at some point. Mind is calling for schools to look into the way they respond to young people experiencing behavioural problems because of mental health problems and trauma as a matter of urgency. This has been your daily education news briefing.
Live from London, this is The Drive Home with Seb Ventura on Teachers Talk Radio.
Good afternoon to everyone listening. It's just coming up to 5 o'clock. On the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about the trainee experience during a worldwide pandemic. I'll be speaking to Greg, who's a trainee. Please get in touch through the Podbean app, the website, on the Twitter, hashtag TT Radio. Get in touch, join the conversation, and let us know your thoughts.
Live from London, this is The Drive Home with Seb Ventura on Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live on the Podbean app or desktop player. Just head over to www.podbean.com/LSW/TT Radio or search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. I hope you've had a lovely week. It is Friday tomorrow, remember, which is the wonderful thing about doing this show on a Thursday evening, is we've got one more day and then we've got the weekend. Now, also, I would like to know, I'm interested in how this is working across the community of teachers and the country, is when are you breaking up? So most people that I know are breaking up in 2 weeks' time. So 2 weeks tomorrow, there's a lot of people I know breaking up, but there are also friends of mine who are not breaking up that early and have actually got 3 weeks or just under 3 weeks left to go. Now, that's a big difference when you've had a year like this. So let me know if you have got to struggle through another 3 weeks, or if you're now, like me, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and thinking, actually, 2 weeks to go is not long, especially one that you've got the Euros to take your mind off it. And hopefully, as Emily said earlier, a bit of game time out there. I know that's not everybody. I know there are people who just teach Key Stage 3, but for quite a lot of people I know, people who've got some Year 11 or Year 13 timetable, it is a little bit easier. And also easier because Year 11s and 13s are not in the building. Primary schools, I know you don't really get that experience. I'm sure it's the same for you all year round. But in secondary, we all know that these few weeks are a little bit calmer than normal. I mean, usually I would be preparing for a big school production at the end of the year in my last school, but of course that is all shelved at the moment, which is a massive shame. But maybe I think this is the time where people can just chill and get through the last few weeks, get yourself sorted for September, get your curriculum done and ready, get your classrooms tidied up, and just and just be ready to have a decent break, which I think everybody needs. So we're talking about trainees. We're talking about the experience of being a trainee. I didn't really want to keep talking about COVID on this show, but I don't think we can get away with it, certainly until maybe September or after Freedom Day. Perhaps we will get to the stage where we're not obsessing over the numbers so much, and we're able to live a normalish life. But anyway, this is definitely something that keeps coming up in my day-to-day, speaking to trainees, speaking to recently qualified teachers about the fact they're excited to start in September, but also how the last few months have given them a chance to get some good classroom practice, good hours in the classroom, but they have had a big break. So in a short while, I'll be speaking to Greg. Greg is a trainee, a science trainee, or, well, he's not a trainee anymore, he's qualified now, but he will becoming an ECT, early career teacher, from September, and he teaches science. So we'll be talking to him. He's in Kent, in between all his parents' evening appointments, which is fab. So yeah, let me know, has it been a good year for that? has it been, obviously it has been harder for everyone, but as a trainee, do you feel like it's affected you, or do you feel like actually it's absolutely fine? If you're a mentor, maybe you could talk to us about the experience of being a mentor in a pandemic. How has that made your life more difficult, or has it been easier? Because actually you can do a lot of stuff online, Zoom meetings, etc. And maybe you're in charge of training. I see a couple of people on the listening there. Andrew Hogan, he's I know in charge of his training program. What has it been like, Andrew? Give us a message and let us know what it's been like having to take through a whole cohort of trainees when you've had to juggle COVID as well. So like I say, very shortly we're speaking to Greg. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I know he's jumping between parents' evenings. As soon as I get him on the call, I will get him into the studio. So yeah, the trainee experience. What's it? I mean, it's a long time since I've been a trainee, long time, you know. But you know, I know things have changed. I know the paperwork is obviously massive, but it always has been, hasn't it? Let's be honest. Hitting the standards is a really tricky thing to do for anyone. You know, getting confident as a teacher whilst always ticking boxes to make sure you actually pass. It's a balance, and I know people used to have huge folders. I presume that's all now online to save the trees. But yeah, I know that gathering evidence is sort of a bit of a pain, but it has to be done. Right, I can see Greg is listening. Greg, if you're ready, just call in, click the button, and I'm ready to speak to you. And yeah, we'll get your thoughts. Hi, Greg.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. You're a bit loud, but I can hear you.
Perfect. I'm just trying to get outside so I can get a little bit more signal.
That's perfect where you
There
are.
we go.
Don't move from where you are now. Just
Cool.
you're a little bit loud, so you can maybe just take the phone away from your mouth a little bit. And maybe it's my headphones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pull the microphone away a little bit. There we go.
That's perfect.
Is that
That's
better?
perfect. Yeah, that's
Cool.
better, mate. How are you doing, Greg? You had a good day?
Yeah, not too bad. Middle of parents' evening now, so I've freed up a 20-minute gap for you.
I know. I've just been bigging you up to my listeners, saying how amazing you are to do that. So let's get straight on with it, because obviously you're on a time clock. And please don't let me overrun. If you have to go, just tell me.
Yeah, no worries.
So first of all, the big thing I'm asking people is we want to know from your perspective as a trainee, how do you think that having that break from being in the classroom has affected you or not? Just tell us about the COVID experience of being a trainee in a pandemic.
So for me, it was coming in a bit blind. Obviously new to teaching is, I didn't know any different. So you could, don't get me wrong, I know what a normal school day was look like from when we were at school and things like that. But from the teacher perspective is, we hadn't seen anything different. So teachers running around to different classrooms and students not moving and bubbles and split times and all it. It was almost, we didn't know any different. So that you just kind of rolled with it a little bit. For me then, when it went, into lockdown and with students at home and the online teaching and all that sort of thing, is I think it gave you like the tools to almost improve your teaching, because you then didn't have to focus so much on like the behavior. And I think as a new teacher coming in, behavior is one of the first things you need to get right. If you're in a difficult school, and like, I think every school has those students where they're a little bit tricky and things like that.
Yeah.
When it went online, is you didn't have that issue. And you almost then had free reign. Right. I haven't got those behavior problems. I've not got to control the class. I've not got to worry about who's going out and who's in and who's talking in the corner, who's not let. You're able to put in like all the techniques, I'll call them, that we'd sort of learned about, having these retrieval activities, teaching your knowledge that you needed to teach, and then checking it, measuring it. Have they got it? Have they understood this? And it almost, I feel for me, it made me a better teacher because I was able to do that. And then particularly when we then come back into the classroom, is I'd almost sharpened up those skills, like away from having to manage behavior. So when we come back into the classroom, I could then concentrate back on that behavior management, controlling the classroom. And I'd almost got this backlog of, 2 or 3 months of, right, I understand this teaching model now that I'm going to use. Right, I'm going to do this retrieval activity. I'm then going to, you know, put in some tasks that I want them to complete. I'm going to teach them this bit of knowledge. I'm then going to put my AFL in it, and I think using that, particularly when we're online, is you had to think, right, how on earth am I going to measure AFL? How am I going to see if these students have understood what I've taught them? And it was all these different tools. And I'll be honest, some of them now I've brought into the classroom.
Sure.
So these, you know, these Google Forms, these quick quizzes and bits like that is, you know, it's almost not wasting the online opportunity that, you know, was given to us, if you like. And, you know, why waste it? Bring it into the classroom. Use the technology that we've got, and use it to our advantage. For me, it, particularly with the online and the digital bits, is it gave you a really quick response, much like when you've got the whiteboards in front of you, like everyone writes their answers, you get that quick response. Is you could do that in digital form with these quick forms and the traffic lights that we were using, quick answers. And it just meant you could, you know, sharpen up those tools online and use them in the classroom.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear you saying that, because I think as people who've been teaching a while, you know, it did sharpen. I've heard a lot of people say that it sharpened up their practice, because you know, yes, you haven't got to deal with 30 kids, you know, whack-a-mole, you know, kind of trying to deal with all that, you know, but it does make you really think about your instructions more, how you explain, like you say, how you measure the progress. And there's loads of great tools that have been out there, Nearpod and Loom, and there's all these great technology. But I'm interested to hear that then you went back into the classroom, keeping some of that, and felt then ready to teach. Because my presumption would be that's great. Then you go back in the classroom and you're like, oh my God, how do I actually do this with 30 kids in front of me? Did you not find that difficult at first, going back and then suddenly having to manage real life, as it were?
I mean, yes and no, I guess. For me, it was almost like we were restarting school again. And I think, you know, that was kind of the vibe that you had from the school. It's like, right. And I think particularly here at this school is they almost acknowledge that. It's like, right, these students have been out of the classroom for a long while. We cannot expect them to come straight in and us put, you know, how we left off before Christmas, we're going to roll straight into it. You know, we're almost going to have to teach them to relearn them to get to be back in that classroom. So for me, it was a bit of both, really. It was a bit of both. Like,
fair enough.
Coming back in, it was a little bit daunting. It was like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to go back in front of the classroom. I'm going, you know, am I going to be able to do this and bits and pieces? But I think, you know, where you're online is you can almost build. I mean, you are still building relationships. Obviously, being new into the teaching is that, you know, a big thing that you kind of get told, isn't it? Is build those relationships with those students.
Yeah,
I think
of course.
Up to Christmas, when I was doing it in the classroom, and when they went away, it wasn't a different relationship. It was just in different environment, different context.
Yeah, of course. And you're still having to get to know them anyway, aren't you?
Exactly. I know certainly as a oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, you know, knowing who the more able ones are, knowing the ones that need the help, that doesn't really change. It doesn't really change, other than the fact that some kids are not engaging with it because they're not actually physically on the call. You're still getting to know them, aren't you? Yeah, and it also, I think it also, I mean, doing the remote learning, I found it quite easy to see the students that were struggling when they were, you know, they're submitting their work and things. It was very easy to pick up who wasn't getting it and who was. And I think you could almost then bring that back into your classroom and go, right, I know online you were struggling, so I'm going to take a pretty good guess that you're probably going to be struggling in the classroom at the same time when I'm teaching. And it was almost right. We can focus, get the class doing something. I can then focus a little bit more on you. Right, I know you need a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this in order you to get the most out of my class. No, that makes sense. We shift the focus a bit, Greg, to talk about the mentoring process. So how has that been for you? Like, how was that affected by COVID, or again, do you not know any different? Was it, you know, how useful is that mentoring, that support? So for me, I mean, I did the skip route. So we basically have our, they call them GPS sessions. So this is where they were teaching us to be teachers, if you like, on a Monday. From day one, they were always online anyway. So that was nothing different. Okay. So our teachers that were teaching us, there was nothing different. And even to this day, the people that were on my course, I've still never met them. That's
it's been,
weird,
it's been
isn't
on,
it?
yeah.
That's weird.
With the mentoring, I mean, the school I'm at, the staff are brilliant, and I can't say anything other than that. The support, not only from like my personal mentor and things like that, but all the other teachers. It's a very active school with teachers on corridors and popping into lessons and things like that. Is when it was in school, you know, the support was there. When we went online, we were still having our CPD, we were still having our mentoring meetings, and there was still like subject online meetings that we were doing, like form tutor meetings that were going on.
Yeah.
Even in that CPD session, there was almost that little 10-minute window where it was like, you know, you can see people again. It is like, you know, where are you sat? You've even down to like, you've got a big kitchen. Where have you got that from? And all them just little silly things like that, you know, add to that whole sort of staff community, if you like.
No, totally, yeah. Oh,
but yeah,
sorry about that. Sorry about that. Ignore that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. When it was like when you were sat at home trying to teach from home and things like that, you were isolated and you did miss being in that school. But I mean, when you come back, you know, the staff almost just took off weight and you just roll with it, don't you? I think you have to be professional. You have to just get on with it for students' sake.
Yeah, no, and I think that is interesting. I think what you're saying all makes sense to me. You know, that actually you forget that if that's all you know, then it doesn't really make any difference, does it? It's not like you've done one and then the other. So the final thing I wanted to ask you was real quick snapshot. What was your biggest challenge this year on a personal level in terms of teaching? What was your hardest thing?
Oh wow.
If you can find one thing that you think that's been the toughest.
Toughest thing. Oh,
maybe it was this question, Greg.
Maybe it was this question. Getting asked to come on live radio shows. That's probably
you didn't expect that, did you?
So no, I mean, I wouldn't say it's my toughest, but like the school has given me lots of opportunities. So for me, it's not, don't get me wrong, they're not throwing me in the deep end and just going, get on with it and see if you sink or swim.
No.
But for me, I mean, obviously, I don't know why, lots of teachers come in, like SLT, come into my classes and see what's going on. And then from there, I have been, you know, put into like curriculum teams and been asked to organise sort of charity events for next year and things.
No, that's great though, isn't it? I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, that for me is probably because it's now right, like what we say to be, you know, get outside your comfort zone. Yeah. You're not going to improve in your comfort zone. Get out there, and that's where you're gonna, you know, like what you do. So, you know, going back to the classroom, your stretch task that you have for your students, right? Let's get a little bit more work out of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see. You know, there's people in the school that have obviously gone, I think you're capable of this. You know, we've seen you in the classroom. You can do that. Now let's give you a little bit more responsibility. Have a look at the bigger picture of curriculum. How can you develop that?
Yeah.
Extracurricular activities. And next year they've asked me sort of to run like a charity event for like an entire year group.
That's brilliant though, isn't it? That's showing faith in you. So I guess what you're saying is that there is a challenge there because, you know, it is important that you still, you know, spend a few, you know, at least a few years really getting your practice where you
tightening up your teaching. Yeah,
of course, but at the same time, why wait? If someone's, you know, it's the same as, you know, the football. And if someone's good enough, they're young, they're old enough.
100%. Yeah,
it is that, and I know some people take longer to get the head around the profession, but you do get those people who've obviously got a natural aptitude for it, and so why not, you know, run a charity event as long as it doesn't impinge on your time too much.
100%.
Or your well-being, or in fact, you know, the day-to-day of what you're doing. Then I don't think it's a problem. Like you say, you're out your comfort zone as long as you're honest enough to say to someone if it gets too much, look, I'm gonna have to, you know,
I'm gonna have to draw back on this a little bit.
And that's fine. That's great. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, I really want to play my game with you before you go. I know you've got an appointment at 5:20, so if you don't mind, thanks. I'm going to say thank you now in case I forget for coming on and giving us your time. It's really lovely to hear an actual trainee, you know, straight from the horse's mouth. So we're going to have a quick game. So here's the jingle. The rules of the game are quite simple. You have two choices, A or B. You have to decide which of those options you prefer. with no explanation, no justification, and no judgment of your choice. It's just a choice, a simple choice. Listeners of the show can also take part, but will never know their answer. So the time is now, the pressure is on for you to
Take your pick.
Okay, I hope you like that, Greg. So here we go.
That's jazzed
Right,
up a bit, isn't it? That's jazzed up a bit.
yeah, I know it used to be really basic, but right. So here's the 10 you've got. Here we go. Number 1, Jupiter or Saturn?
Saturn.
Okay. Thor or Hulk?
Hulk.
English breakfast tea or herbal tea?
Oh, English breakfast tea.
Cola cubes or pear drops?
Cola cubes.
Cornwall or the Isle of Wight?
Cornwall.
Swimming or cycling?
Cycling.
Don't have to say it like that.
I don't swim.
Oh, okay. Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Schwarzenegger.
Oasis or Blur?
Blur.
Spider plants or cacti?
All cactus.
And then the final one's a teaching one. If you had to, let's imagine your head teacher tomorrow said to you, Greg, you need to take on an extra subject next year, as well as science, and it's going to be drama or French. Which would you choose?
Oh, drama. I have to go drama.
Good answer. Because it's not easy teaching drama anyway, I can tell you.
I just don't fancy me French.
No, that's fair enough. You just give them something to get on with, and then watch it back. I did it for nearly 20 years. Right, listen, you're gonna have to go for your appointment.
I am.
Thanks again, Greg. I really appreciate you coming in. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
So that was Greg there, phoning from Kent. He's got to rush off to a parents' evening now. So brilliant. Thanks to Greg for calling in. And I see Mal has done something which no one's done yet on the show. So I have to give a bit of kudos to Mal. So Mal, I'm going to say to you, well done. Mal has done something great, which is she has decided that during the game, whenever I play my jingle, I always say to people, play this at home. If you're at home or at school or in the car going home from school, or you're just planning lessons, play along and shout out what you think you would choose. And Mal's gone one step further and actually put it on the chat. So she went for Saturn, Thor, herbal tea, cola cubes, cycling, Sly Stallone, Blur, spider plants, and drama. So I think quite a few of those I would agree with those, Mal. So yeah, again, that's a great example for anyone listening next week. If you want to join in, get in the chat and put your answers. That was really, really cool. So I'm just trying to disconnect Greg here. I don't seem to be able to disconnect him. But anyway, he's not talking, so I'm sure it's fine. As long as his parents' evening is not disturbed by the sound of my voice coming through his phone, through his pocket. But I'm sure if that is the case, he'll turn it off. So brilliant there. Some really good points from Greg. Interesting what he's saying there, wasn't it, about trainees not really knowing any different. So actually, it's no good that we can compare it, because we obviously teachers now, and we've obviously done it one way and they're doing it another way. But if you haven't seen any different, then it's not really not going to change, is it? And the idea of the mentoring all being done online as well, that's interesting. And also the touched upon there at the end, Greg, the idea of responsibility. I think that links in quite nicely with what we were talking about earlier with the middle leader thing of, it isn't for everybody. There's nothing wrong if you don't want to take on extra responsibility. If you just, happy just teaching your subject, maybe that's something you want to do in the future, but you want to just get your teaching practice solid, and then take that on later on when, you maybe want a fresh challenge. Again, nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong with doing what Greg's done, which is similar to what I did, getting thrown in the deep end early, getting stuff chucked at you, jobs, responsibilities. And, I think SLTs and head teachers are quite good at seeing if somebody's ready for that, or if somebody can give them a bit extra. And as long as you're not getting, kind of taken advantage of, I guess, or that you make sure you can say no and you look after yourself, then I don't think it's a problem. So that might be a topic for a future show about extra responsibilities. It's also interesting what he said about his pedagogy, wasn't it? I think the fact that, I wonder if this is anyone else out there that agrees with this, the idea of not having the kids in front of you, allowing us to concentrate more on the pure pedagogy of questioning, of AFL, of how you instruct, how you do your modelling, all of those kind of things, without having to just keep on top of, you know, people talking or chatting or disturbances going on, people coming in and out. So I think it does make you do that. And then Greg was saying how then it allowed him to come back into the classroom and actually then concentrate on the behaviour management side, knowing that the other bit was kind of all good. So I will say good luck to all the ECTs that are out there. Like I say, we've still got a few minutes left. If you want to call in, if you're a trainee and you want to give us a call, you can. Welcome to the Holsteins just joining us there. Welcome to the Queen Alabila joining us there. Some lovely little names people have got on there. So yes, hello to you guys. If you want to call in, if you're a trainee or you have been a trainee this year and you're about to qualify, give us a call, give us a message, let us know what it's been like for you. Have you got trainees for next year? That's another thing that Emily was talking about, having trainees in your department. What are the big pros and cons of having trainees in your department? I'm sure everybody would love to have extra people, because I think it adds to the buzz. You get that fresh ideas coming in, but it is extra responsibility having somebody else that you've got to look after and mentor and worry about and make sure that they're getting that support. So of course everything has two sides to it, doesn't it? So we're nearly at the end of the show, but we have got time if you do want to call in. Summarising what we've chatted about today, we've talked about middle leadership, the challenges of that. We talked about some tips if you are a middle leader about talk to your team, talk to your line manager, be honest, talk to fellow heads of department that may be in the same situation as you. Make time for you is always important. I talked about a couple of books that are out there on middle leadership mastery, being an amazing middle leader, both by Crown House Publishers. They're both out and available. I think one of them actually, amazing, being an amazing middle leader, or it might be middle leadership mastery, I don't know which one, but one of those books I saw earlier on Twitter saying, the publisher's saying it's out of stock on Amazon, but they have got it on their website. So I think just give them a shout out for that. Yeah, and obviously that's it. A little bit of time just to remind you that obviously there is late shows on later today. Genevieve is on tonight. Kate Jones should be with us tomorrow as normal on the Friday breakfast show. So do tune into that. Next week, I'm going to be looking at reading, the reading focus, which is, you know, I'm sure every school has had some focus on that, because we know it's a massive issue for young people and the reading ages and getting those reading ages up. So next week's show, I'm going to be talking to some people who are leaders of literacy and leading whole school reading policies and how they do that, reading for pleasure, accelerated reader, all of that. So if you're a librarian or an LRC manager, or if you're in charge of anything to do with books, reading or literacy, whole school, or even if you're just a form tutor that has to get, you know, has to ask your students to read every day and it finds that difficult because they don't necessarily, maybe they don't engage with it because they're not used to it because of their phones, I don't know. But that is what we're going to be looking at next Thursday. But we are kind of done for today. I'm really glad that I had two lovely callers, so I'll give them a shout out before we go. So Emily there from Essex, head of faculty and expressive arts faculty. So thanks to Emily. Some lovely honesty there about the tough parts of the role. Her key message, of course, was trust your team and delegate and try and let go and let people grow and make mistakes, which I think is brilliant. And Greg there with his key messages, talking about training and how he's actually feels quite ready for next year. He doesn't feel disadvantaged by COVID. And I hope that's how a lot of people feel. Yes, it's been an absolute pain, hasn't it, for everybody involved in education, aside from obviously the tragedy of also the deaths, etc., just the pressure it's put on everybody in education. And then, of course, we get silly comments like, you know, when the schools were closed, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, we actually never closed, did we? And let's have a longer school day, or let's have no school summer holidays. I think we can all agree that that's all a bit of nonsense. So hats off to everybody for getting through As I say, you may have 2 weeks left. If you're lucky, you may have 3 weeks left or somewhere in between. But we will obviously be carrying on through the summer. So Teacher Talk Radio, we're not going away. We're not going on holiday. So if you are just joining me today, or you've joined the show late, or you're someone who's not listened to the show before, all our shows, majority of our shows anyway, will be still live in the summer holiday. So you can sit and listen to us while you're gardening, or if you're sheltered inside from the summer, British summer rain, or you're out and about in your car. All the shows will be live still, as well as the uploaded podcasts on Spotify and on the Podbean app. So you can always listen later. All my shows are on there. Everyone's shows are all on there for you to go back and listen. So if you missed the show today, or you missed the beginning, you want to listen to back what Emily said about middle leadership, I advise you to do that. Just download it and listen back through the website at www.ttradio.org. Thanks to our sponsors, our adverts, and thanks to Gail for doing the news today. And it's fingers crossed, isn't it, for Saturday night in Rome, that Gareth's men don't let us down and spoil our weekend. Because come on, let's have 1 year where it actually goes right, and we don't muck it up or freeze or go to blimmin' penalties. I don't think I can really bear it. That was one of the nicest things actually about that Germany game, was not having to worry about penalties and just actually win the game in normal time. Although I did get quite scared at the end. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great week. One more day to go. I hope you enjoyed the show. This has been The Drive Home with me, Seb. Please call in next week, or get connected to us, the church, send us a message, 4 to 5:30. Mal just putting a quick message in there. I don't think I could cope with penalties. I don't think anybody could. And that's only going to get worse. Imagine it in the final. Imagine we actually do get to the final and it's Italy or Belgium or someone, and we have to, and then we have penalties. I don't think anybody, I'll be hiding behind the sofa, I think. Right, okay, so we're pretty much done. Like I say, thanks for joining me today. It's been great as usual. Have a nice evening, relax, and I'll see you all, I'll speak to you all next week on the show. Take care and see you next time.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.